Everyone says they want kindness. In surveys, interviews, and first dates, the answers are suspiciously uniform. We claim to value honesty, emotional maturity, humility, and safe people. We speak of green flags and healthy boundaries as if they are the primary currencies of human attraction. But then, life happens. In the high-stakes pressure cooker of a boardroom, the chaotic energy of a social hierarchy, or the desperate vacuum of a political crisis, the kind person often fades into the background. Suddenly, the person who commands the room is not the most empathetic or the most ethically sound. It is the person who speaks as if they have never known the taste of a single doubt. It is the one who enters a space with a strange magnetic aura of absolute certainty, even when that certainty is built on a foundation of cruelty, manipulation, or hollow artifice. This is the uncomfortable truth we prefer to ignore. People say they admire goodness, but they respond to power. And in the human brain, confidence is the most convincing surrogate for power ever invented. We don't respect toxic confidence because we are bad people. We respect it because certainty acts as a psychological sedative. In a world defined by ambiguity and terrifying complexity, someone who acts like they have the map is more attractive than someone who admits they are lost, even if the person with the map is leading everyone off a cliff. Few things expose this disturbing glitch in the human psyche better than 3 cinematic masterworks: The Devil Wears Prada, Whiplash, and Nightmare Alley. Through a brutal music teacher, a manipulative con man, and a fashion empress made of ice, we see the 3 faces of toxic confidence: excellence, discipline, and seduction. The Devil Wears Prada and the Illusion of Competence. Human beings are remarkably poor at detecting character. We do not possess an internal radar that scans for integrity or moral depth. Instead, we scan for signals. We look for boldness, calm under pressure, decisiveness, and the ability to dominate attention. We see these signals and instinctively think, if they are that sure of themselves, they must know something I don't. We mistake the signal of confidence for the substance of value. This is the halo effect weaponized. In The Devil Wears Prada, Miranda Priestly is the ultimate avatar of this illusion. She is not nurturing, she is dismissive. She is not encouraging, she is punishing. She treats her staff as disposable tools. Yet, she is arguably the most respected person in her universe. Why? Because Miranda never looks lost. She moves through the world as if reality has already agreed to her terms. She doesn't ask for permission, she doesn't over-explain, and she refuses to perform the likability dance that society usually demands of women. Her confidence is toxic because it is devoid of empathy, but it is intoxicating because it is fused with mastery. When she delivers the famous cerulean monologue, deconstructing a young woman's wardrobe with the precision of a surgeon, she isn't just being a bully. She is demonstrating that she understands the world at a level of detail that no one else can match. The film understands a dark social law. Competence wrapped in cold confidence generates more genuine awe than kindness wrapped in uncertainty. Miranda's toxicity becomes a badge of her high standards. We begin to tell ourselves a lie, that she has to be this way because she is so much better than everyone else. We start to believe that her cruelty is simply the tax one must pay for proximity to greatness. Whiplash and the myth of the necessary. If Miranda Priestly makes toxic confidence look elegant, Terence Fletcher in Whiplash makes it look like a religious crusade. Fletcher is a monster. He uses physical violence, homophobic slurs, and deep-seated psychological trauma to break his students. He is the definition of a toxic leader. Yet, as viewers, we find it nearly impossible to look away. We find ourselves, perhaps against our better judgment, wanting his approval for the protagonist. Fletcher weaponizes one of the most dangerous myths in our culture: the idea that greatness is only possible through suffering, and that only a hard man can lead you there. Fletcher's confidence is persuasive because it frames itself as a form of brutal honesty. He speaks like a man who has burned away all the fluff of modern sensitivity. He tells his students, and the audience, that the 2 most harmful words in the English language are good job. By positioning himself as the guardian of excellence, his toxicity stops looking like a character flaw and starts looking like a philosophy. We see this in real-world workplaces every day. The abusive CEO or the mercurial creative director is forgiven for their outbursts because they are pushing people to be their best. This is where toxic confidence becomes truly dangerous. It disguises abuse as discipline. When someone is confident enough in their cruelty, we begin to question our own boundaries. We wonder, am I being too soft? Is this person actually the only one telling me the truth? Fletcher doesn't just dominate his students. He makes them believe they need his domination to become legends. We respect him because he offers something rare, a version of the world where there is no ambiguity, only the pursuit of perfection. He offers a holy war for the ambitious, and for many, that is more attractive than a healthy, balanced life. Nightmare Alley and the Theater of Certainty. While Fletcher uses fear, Stanton Carlyle in Nightmare Alley uses the most subtle form of toxic confidence, the performance of empathy. Stanton is a con man who learns the mentalist trade, the art of reading people, finding their whole, and filling it with a lie. His confidence isn't about being the loudest person in the room, it's about being the most certain. In Nightmare Alley, we see how toxic confidence functions as a spiritual rescue. Stanton realizes that people are not actually looking for the truth, they are looking for a lifeboat. When people are grieving, lonely, or desperate, the truth feels like a burden. The truth is full of maybes and I don't knows. But a con man? A con man is sure. Stanton understands that if you remove the hesitation from your voice, you can lead people anywhere. This is the same mechanism used by cult leaders, fraudulent financial gurus, and manipulative partners. They capitalize on the fact that humans have a low tolerance for cognitive dissonance. If I am in pain and you tell me with 100% conviction that you can fix it, my brain will often choose to believe you over the kind person who tells me that healing will be a long, uncertain process. The lesson of Nightmare Alley is that we often help build the very idols that destroy us. We reward Stanton's confidence long before we verify his character. We are so hungry for a sense of direction that we don't check to see if the person leading us is blind. We mistake the theater of authority for the presence of wisdom. The aspirational fantasy of the untouchable. There is a deeper, more private reason why we respect toxic confidence. It represents a version of ourselves we are too afraid to be. Most of us live lives defined by hesitation. We second-guess our emails. We replay conversations in our heads. We worry about being too much or not enough. We are constantly negotiating our needs against the feelings of others. We are, in a word, burdened by our empathy and our self-consciousness. Then, we see a character like Miranda Priestly, or a real-world disruptor who doesn't seem to care about any of that. There is a secret, dark envy in watching someone who doesn't apologize. There is a fantasy of invulnerability in the person who can walk into a room and make everyone else feel like the guest. We admire toxic confidence because it looks like freedom. It looks like a life without the itch of social anxiety or the weight of guilt. We tell ourselves we hate the bully, but part of us wants to know what it feels like to be the person the bully is afraid of. We mistake their lack of empathy for strength, and we mistake their emotional coldness for being in control. We respect them because they have achieved a state of being that is untouched by the opinions of others, even if the price of that state is their own humanity. The cost of the performance. This phenomenon is more relevant today than ever. We live in an attention economy that is perfectly designed to reward toxic confidence. Algorithms don't favor nuance, they favor intensity. Social media rewards the person who can summarize a complex geopolitical crisis in a 30-second clip with absolute certainty. In the modern workplace, leadership presence is often prioritized over actual management skill. We are increasingly surrounded by people who are trained to perform strength rather than cultivate wisdom. The problem is that toxic confidence is a short-term gain, long-term ruin strategy. In The Devil Wears Prada, Miranda's confidence leaves her in a gilded cage, isolated from any genuine human connection. In Whiplash, Fletcher's confidence produces a great musician who is emotionally shattered and physically broken. In Nightmare Alley, Stanton's confidence eventually leads him to become the very thing he feared most, a geek, a man who has lost his dignity entirely. The tragedy of respecting toxic confidence is that we are essentially falling for a high-end magic trick. We see the flash, the smoke, and the dramatic flourish, and we assume there is magic. But there is no magic. There is only a person who has learned how to hide their own insecurity behind a wall of arrogance. Distinguishing the map from the mirror. So, why do we secretly respect toxic confidence? Because confidence is visible, while character is invisible. Because dominance feels like competence. Because in a world of endless doubt, the person who acts like they know the way feels like a god. But as these films show us, the loudest certainty in the room is rarely the same thing as the truth. The coldest composure is not the same thing as power. And the person who makes everyone else feel small is not actually big. Toxic confidence is often just armor, a heavy, rigid suit of mail, worn by someone who is too terrified to be seen as they are. When we respect it, we aren't respecting a person, we are respecting the armor. The challenge of modern life is to stop being seduced by the theater of strength and start looking for the quiet, steady evidence of integrity. It is to realize that true confidence doesn't need to diminish others to feel secure, and that the most powerful person in the room is often the one who is brave enough to say, "I don't know, but let's find out." Until we learn to value the green flags of humility as much as the red flags of certainty, we will continue to do what humans have always done. We will call domination charisma, we will call fear respect, and we will mistake a very confident lie for the absolute truth.